In the year 638, a 14-year-old girl was taken into the imperial palace of Tang Dynasty, China. She held the lowest possible rank of concubine. No land, no family of political weight, no reason to expect she would ever be remembered. By the time she died 67 years later, she had rewritten the rules of an empire that had never once, in over 4,000 years, allowed a woman to rule in her own name. Her name was Wu Zetian. And history spent the next 13 centuries trying to make sure you forgot her. To understand how unthinkable this was, you have to understand what Confucian China actually believed about women in power. The natural order placed women beneath fathers, then beneath husbands, then beneath sons. A woman ruling an empire wasn't scandalous. It was, in the language of the time, a violation of the structure of the universe itself. Officials wrote that a hen crowing like a rooster signaled the collapse of the natural world. Wu Zetian became the rooster. She entered the palace as a low-ranked concubine to Emperor Taizong, one of the most powerful rulers in Chinese history. For 12 years, she existed in the background of his court, present but politically invisible. Then Taizong died, and under the rules of the time, every childless concubine of a dead emperor was sent to a Buddhist monastery, head shaved, to live out her life in religious seclusion. That should have been the end of her story. It wasn't, because Taizong's son and successor, Emperor Gaozong, had already noticed her. Gaozong brought her back from the monastery, not as his father's old concubine, but as his own. This alone broke convention so badly that court officials protested it as a moral scandal. Wu didn't just return to the palace, she began systematically removing every woman positioned above her. The reigning Empress, Wang, and a senior consort named Xiao were accused, many historians believe falsely, of murdering Wu's own infant daughter to frame them. Court records say the Empress's hands had touched the cradle. Wu used that single detail to engineer 2 executions and her own ascension to Empress. Gaozong, conveniently, suffered a stroke not long after. With her husband incapacitated, she began ruling the empire directly, issuing edicts in his name, controlling the bureaucracy, deciding policy. For over 20 years, China was governed almost entirely by a woman. When Gaozong died in 683, she placed her sons on the throne one after another, and removed them the moment they showed any sign of ruling independently. One son was exiled within weeks of taking power. Officials who objected were demoted, exiled, or executed. In 690, Wu Zetian declared herself emperor. She founded her own dynasty, the Zhou, and ruled China as its sole and undisputed sovereign. By every measurable standard, she was an extraordinarily effective ruler. She expanded the imperial examination system, the meritocratic civil service test that determined who could serve in government, opening it further to candidates outside the hereditary aristocracy. She promoted officials based on competence rather than bloodline, which directly threatened the noble families who had run the empire for generations. She commissioned agricultural reforms that reduced famine. Census records from her reign show population growth and economic stability that rivaled or exceeded the periods before and after her. China's borders held, the bureaucracy functioned. By the standards, Wu Zetian succeeded. She was also ruthless in ways the histories never let you forget. She built a secret police network to monitor and eliminate political rivals. She executed members of her own family who threatened her position. Confucian scholars recorded her reign in language soaked in moral horror, not because her brutality was unusual for an emperor, but because a woman doing it broke a rule they considered sacred. In 705, at the age of 80, Wu Zetian was forced to abdicate in a palace coup. She died months later. Her son Zhongzong restored the Tang Dynasty, and with it restored the historical narrative that her reign had been an unnatural interruption, rather than a legitimate one. Official court historians, writing under the dynasty that succeeded her, painted her as a murderous, sexually depraved usurper whose every success was downplayed or erased entirely. Her own funerary monument, the Wu Zetian stele, standing in Shanxi province to this day, bears no inscription at all, a blank stone tablet where every other emperor's tomb describes a lifetime of achievement. Historians still debate why. Some say she left it blank intentionally, believing her accomplishments spoke for themselves and needed no court historian's approval. Others believe later rulers left it deliberately empty, unwilling to either honor or fully condemn a reign too significant to ignore and too inconvenient to praise. Either way, the most powerful woman in the history of Chinese civilization has no official epitaph, just blank stone.